Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to I Hate Rock Music, and in this video I'm going to talk about the band Landslide. Interesting group. I came across the record in a used record store in about 1980. Probably paid about $2 for it, and I had no idea what to expect. It had a good lineup with twin guitars, and I picked it up not knowing what it sounded like and took it home. It was very pleasantly surprised. A really obscure record, really understated. Had no idea it existed. As I say in a lot of my videos, there wasn't a YouTube or an internet back then to speak of, and to find out about these bands, you just had to come across it record hunting in used record stores. And Landslide were a band from Buffalo, New York, and Buffalo apparently had a pretty good scene in the early 70s. Black Sheep, I believe, were from Buffalo, and of course Juke and Bone were from Buffalo. Really awesome band. I'll be doing a video on them at some point. But Landslide came out of Buffalo, New York. Tommy Cagliotti on drums, his brother Joseph Cagliotti on guitar, Ed Cass on vocals, Bobby Salustio on bass, and Billy Sabaco on guitar. And the Cagliotti brothers used to be in a band called Trax. And Landslide originally was called Hot Wax with a KS, W-A-K-S. And then they changed their name to Landslide. And like a lot of these bands, there isn't a lot of information on them. They apparently were influenced by Johnny Winter, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Cream, and stuff like that. And it kind of shows in their music. It's very guitar oriented and very tasty. And they put out that one album, Two-Sided Fantasy, which was self-produced, which is unusual for those days. And that album came out in 1972. And they had already disbanded by the time the record came out. So I'm kind of surprised in a way that Capitol ended up releasing the album anyway, even though the band broke up. Because a lot of times if a band breaks up before the album's put out, they don't put it out. But in this case, they did put it out, and it's a great little record. One of my favorites of obscure bands. And I guess you'd call them a blues rock band. There isn't a lot of overt, straightforward blues in it, but it's just blues infused. There's a lot of great slide work, a lot of dual guitar work, and lots of jamming. And that's one of the things I find fascinating about the records. The vocalists, um, both the lead singer and the backup vocals, are pretty understated on the record, and they're good vocals. So I'm surprised they kind of buried them in a lot of places. And there's a couple places where there's good harmony vocals, but it seems like a lot of the tunes on the record are structured so that there's just a lot of good jamming. And all the musicians are really good, including the drummer's excellent. And they have arrangements that give every excuse to have some great drum breaks and a lot of great guitar work. And the opening song is a good example. It's fairly long, starts off with fairly understated vocals that are almost barely noticeable in some respects. And then they get into a long jam with wonderful guitar work. And that's what marks the album for me in a lot of ways, is that it does remind me of Johnny Winter in some ways, although they ultimately sound completely different. But there's just, I think that slide work and some of the blues infusion in the band really kind of evokes Johnny Winter. But all the tunes on the record are really great. All the tunes seem to be a vehicle for some great jamming, and you're just not disappointed. The guitar work is excellent. The vocals are understated but excellent, and a killer rhythm section. And as I mentioned, all we get from the band is the 1972 album. They broke up after that, or before the album even came out. And Capitol was signing a lot of really great bands around the 70s. So when you dive into a lot of obscure bands like Head Over Heels or UK bands like Head, Hands and Feet, Capitol was being very aggressive about signing really good bands from the US and the UK. Brainbox comes to mind as well. But this single record is a real gem, and fortunately it's been released on CD now. And like I say about a lot of bands, they must have been smoking hot live, and I wish there was some live material, and I wish they had existed longer, because this album, aside from the fact that the vocals are understated and the songs are basically constructed to allow a lot of room for jamming, it's a really strong record. It just sounds good, and just dynamite twin guitar work. The guitars, I'm surprised there's not other records that we can point to that have either of these guitar players, particularly Billy Savaco, Savaco, really butchering that name, because they're so good. It seems like they would have had a long career in other bands. So for all practical purposes, these musicians came out and made this stellar album and then just disappeared. And so if anybody has any information about what happened to these guys moving on, I'd love to hear it. But anyway, of a lot of the obscure records that I talk about, this is a real personal favorite. It just sounds so good, and all the right elements are there, and all the great playing. So it's a wonderful record. I highly recommend it. So as usual, I'll post it below and check it out. And it's one of those records too that is sort of understated, and just grows on you and grows on you. And over the years, it was in my collection as sort of a interesting obscure band that I kind of shelved originally, but here we are 50 years later, and I just enjoy the record more and more. Really classic, intelligent, great blues infused hard rock band, and so I unequivocally recommend it. And it's great that they have at least enough of a reputation and a legend, as it were, that it has been released on CD, because a lot of times some of these really obscure records don't end up getting put out on CD, so everybody can have access to it now, and well, they should. Excellent, excellent record. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.